Hello and welcome to another HeroQuest video. Today I'm going to be painting the dwarf from the base set. As you can see, I have primed him with white primer and I'm going to be following the card art reasonably closely. As closely as my current palette of paints will allow me to follow. As suggested by a viewer in a previous video, I'm going to give the entire model a coat of a thinned down Nuln Oil as a black pre-wash. The idea behind this is to help shading the recess areas. The speed paint should paint on okay over the top of this. I would normally not bother with this step, but for the sake of trial, why not? This guy's getting a coat of Nuln Oil watered down before I add any more colours. So there we go, he's had plenty of time to dry, and as you can see, that's the kind of effect you're going to get with a watered down wash. You could use the wash neat, but it would interfere too much with the translucency colour of the speed paint in my opinion. First colour up is going to be Hoplite Gold. There's quite a lot of this miniature is going to be gold. I will be going over most of this gold towards the end of the paint job with a wash, and that is just to add a bit of definition and make the detail on the gold items pop a bit. You'll see exactly the effect that has towards the end of the painting session. So the next colour up is going to be Moonlake Coral, and I'm going to try this for his armour. You'll see on the card art that he has quite a lot of purple on him. With hindsight, this ended up being a bad choice. I didn't like it, and rather than move on with a colour that I wasn't completely happy with, I chose to take this colour back off the miniature again. As long as you're reasonably quick, you don't let the paint dry too long, you can go in with a clean, wet brush and lift the paint back off again, leaving the white undercoat underneath without any problem. So that's exactly what I chose to do with this model. This colour will get used again later in the painting session. So the next colour up I'm going to try is Purple Swarm, and this turned out to be a much nicer purple and closer to the card art. So I stuck with this colour for the clothing and the boots. One other positive effect that pre-washing the model with a darker colour has is it helps to make the detail stand out. It makes it pop. It's far easier to see, and therefore it's easier to keep within those lines, those realms that you want to keep one colour. The observant amongst you will notice that I'm using synthetic brushes here, actually nylon, and unfortunately the speed paint is quite hard on them. You'll find that the tips curl really quickly, so you're really only getting 3 or 4 painting sessions before you're thinking about either replacing the brush or thoroughly cleaning it. I'm now on to the Broadsword Silver aspect of the model. There isn't a whole lot of this model that's silver, some areas of the axe and the axe shaft. Anyway, back to talking about paintbrushes. Just remember to have a reasonable supply of brushes. They don't have to be expensive, but you can obviously buy nice sable expensive brushes. Just make sure you look after them well. Ideally get a brush soap, and after you've used them for a painting session, make sure and give them a good clean with a brush soap, and store them bristles down if you can. I normally buy my decent brushes through a company called ABC Brushes here in the UK. Every now and again they'll have like a seconds offer where you buy maybe 10 or 20 brushes and they have a minor defect, which obviously isn't including the bristles. I go for those most of the time. The next colour up is going to be Warrior Skin. There isn't a whole lot of this miniature that has skin visible, but there is some areas of the arms, the upper parts of the legs and areas of the face that aren't covered in hair. Yet again, back to the brushes topic, just make sure you have a healthy supply of brushes and also treat them as a disposable commodity. They won't last forever. It doesn't matter whether you buy really expensive brushes or really cheap brushes, they still won't last forever. The sable will last longer than synthetic, but they still won't last forever. I'm now on to Grim Black, and that's for his hair. The card art has him just like the Barbarian with dark black hair, so that's what he's gonna get. There's a lot of hair around his chest area and beneath his arms, so just make sure you catch all of those areas. This paint flows really well, so you won't have any problems with it. I'm now getting in with some dead white, and I'm going to touch up a few areas that I've hit with the black that I didn't want to hit, mostly around the right hand side of his face. But again, this is what we have a white background for. It's easy, really easy to paint a colour over the top of white. It's not easy to paint a colour over the top of black, especially a contrast type paint. It just won't go over black. I'm now going to use some Reikland Fleshshade, and I'm going to use it as a wash over most of the miniature, especially concentrating on obviously the flesh tones, the flesh skin tones of the model and also the metal work. This is like a light brown wash and it works really well. And I'm coming back in with the dead white again. This time I'm wanting to hit the little gems. He has rings on his fingers and there's 3 gems on each side of his axe that I'm just going to give a dot of white to, and that's so I can add a nice bright colour over the top. And that first gem colour is going to be Shamrock Green. It's a real nice bright green, and I'll paint one of the gems on the axe and maybe one of his rings as well with this colour. It's really just a matter of loading your brush and just touching the white area, and the paint should flow into it. The next colour for the gems I'm going to choose is Poppy Red. Again, it's a nice bright colour, in this case obviously red. Same procedure, pick one of the gems, one of the rings, and just touch it with a loaded brush. And lastly I'm going back to my Moonlake Coral. It was no good for his clothing, but it'll certainly make a nice purpley gem. So the remaining gems are going to get painted with this colour. Again, loading the brush and just touching the white part of the gemstone, and the paint will do the rest. And I'm now on to the basing, and I'm just sticking with the Adeptus Battle Grey that I've been using for all my HeroQuest bases. Pick whatever colour you like, just make sure to keep it the same for all your models, and at least that's what I've been doing. Keep it the same for all the models, keep uniformity. Just looks better on the table in my opinion. And just like with the Barbarian, I'm going to add a white stripe around the bottom of the base, and that's so I can paint it red and make sure that the player characters stand out on the table, especially when surrounded by monsters. I want it to be immediately visible to the player characters and to the players, exactly what's what on the table. And I'm now coming in with some Slaughter Red just to cover that white over. You don't need to be super neat with the white or the red. You just want to put a red band around the base of the model. At least that's what I've chosen to do. And once that's all dry, I'm going to come in with my matte varnish of choice, and this miniature is going to get a healthy coverage of matte varnish. He's going to get left to dry, and then he'll get put away into his tray. Again, I always must emphasize, especially for HeroQuest, varnish your miniatures. and varnish your furniture. If you've taken the time to paint it, varnish it. And that's it. Wee Dwarf is done. And you can see here, especially when you see on the back, you'll see the pre-wash. You can see where the purple has been washed without me actually washing it. If you understand what I'm saying, you can definitely see the black edges and the black in the grooves on the back of the armor. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for watching this painting video, whether it was a tutorial or just hopefully give you some ideas. I'd like you to thank you for clicking the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.